Hello everyone and happy February. Thank you for joining in on today's newest edition of Dinner Dialogues Family Edition. We recently spoke with Dr. Warrenetta Mann, who is the Director of Counseling and Psychiatry here at USC, about your role as a family member of a USC student and helping and supporting them through their mental health on the college campus. So be sure to like this and share this with any other USC parents or college parents who could find it helpful. So thank you for being with us today, Dr. Mann. Can you tell us just a little bit about the Counseling and Psychiatry team here at USC? Who is the Counseling and Psychiatry team here?
I love that question because as a person that's new to the USC community, I feel like I'm learning that along with everybody else. I'm a psychologist who's been in college mental health for almost 20 years now. And in coming here, this is the largest center that I've been able to manage, but I have a lot of experience in college mental health. And the counseling and psychiatry area at the Student Health Services of USC is comprised of a number of different professionals. So we're a multidisciplinary team. It includes 29 counselors with backgrounds from psychologists, social workers, professional counselors. We also have a team of case managers that support our teams, 7 psychiatric providers, as well as our administrative support staff. And so altogether there's about 38 to 40 of us. And we all play different roles in how the center functions.
Great. So what services do y'all provide that students can utilize?
So under the Student Health Services umbrella, we provide a ton of services. When we talk about specifically what counseling and psychiatry as a unit provides, we primarily provide individual counseling, psychiatric support through evaluation and medication management, some assessment, particularly for students who have been identified as at risk for a number of different things. We do some diagnostic screening as well. We provide training and education for professionals. And we do group therapy for students. We do group interventions, couples counseling for students who may be in primary romantic relationships as well. So those are the primary things that we do here in counseling and psychiatry. We partner often though with Healthy Carolina and the Mental Health Initiatives program, which provides the prevention and education arm of the mental health services that we provide as well. And what we do through that is get out into the community, work with student groups, do peer support and peer education around mental health.
Perfect. So a student walks in and they want to speak with a counselor. Mm-hmm. Can you walk us through what that process would look like? They walk through the doors. What does that look like?
Yeah. So there's 3 different ways that we bring students into our system because there's often different things that students want out of that appointment. So our primary appointment is an appointment that a student can get by either calling or coming in to schedule to talk with a counselor because they have a concern that they've identified already, or they have suspicions that they're developing a mental health condition, or they already have a mental health condition that they realize they need to manage through regular contact with a mental health provider. That appointment typically can be scheduled within a few days. At the busiest times of semester, those appointments may go out to a week or so before they can schedule those. And those are our what we call our triage appointments, or they meet with an initial clinician to help them determine what their needs are, and not only provide recommendations based on what we can do for them here at Counseling and Psychiatry, but those people know all the resources on campus and in our local community, because often a student doesn't get everything they need through just one office. They need to be in contact with academic advisors. Sometimes they need to be in contact with disability resources. Maybe they need to have contact with housing about changing roommate situations or making accommodations in that center. So what we try to do is get the best array of services or support for that student through that initial meeting with the student. If a student has a more urgent need and really feels like they need to have that addressed today, we also have walk-in hours. And so a student can walk in to the center and say that they need to see someone right away because of whatever the concern is. It can be a temporary crisis, or it can be a student with an existing mental health condition who feels like they're going into crisis. And we try to support our students who can readily identify when they are in need of more support. All they have to do is come in and let the people at the front desk know that they want to see somebody urgently. There's always a clinician available during our operating hours to be able to provide that walk-in support and kind of do a troubleshoot in the minute. Those appointments don't afford us the opportunity to do a kind of the full eval we do in the triage appointments, but it allows us to figure out what is it that we can do about that problem in the moment, and then get them to the next step. And often that is a follow-up appointment with another clinician. And then the third kind of appointment is, because we are a part of a caring community, is sometimes students are often concerned about other people in the community. So the concern is not for themselves. So a student can walk in or make an appointment to talk with a clinician and say, I have a concern about a roommate, or I observed this behavior in another person that makes me concerned. We do a lot of education with our students about how do we recognize signs of distress in others. And so when we find that our students become aware of that, they are often expressing concern that helps us to identify people in the community that may be in need of other support or assistance. And so they can come in and talk with one of our clinicians about things that they can either do to help support those students, or what are the systems and supports in place on campus for them to be able to get the information they have to other professionals that can help to support the students that they've identified in need of help.
What services do you all provide on weekends and after hours? If a student does, say, go in crisis mode, or has an emergency on the weekend, what is available to them?
So within the last couple of years, we've actually extended our hours to try to make it available for as many students as possible. So Monday through Thursday, our center is open from 8 to 6:30, and on Sundays, most of the times during the semester, we have a clinician that operates out of the Student Health Center for the hours between 2 and 8. And so there are weekend hours and evening hours available on a regular basis for many students. If there are crises that fall outside of our business hours, we have clinicians that provide after-hours coverage via phone. So a student or a parent that's concerned would either need to call the UofSC PD or contact somebody on campus that would allow them to get to that after-hours counselor. And often, if the student is living in residence, that counselor can either consult with people living in the residence halls with them, or come out to where that student location is and meet with that student to determine what the nature of the crisis is. Those after-hours services are, predominantly for crises. But if a student finds out after hours that they feel like they need to come in, we also have next day walk-in hours where a student can talk to somebody on the phone and then be put in to see a clinician the next day.
Is a parent able to find out if their student attended a counseling session and determine what was discussed?
Okay. So parents and our emerging adult students often have different relationships around their healthcare management in the past. One of the things that's really important for us is to, from the time a student gets here, to begin to prepare them to manage their healthcare on their own. That's a part of their college experience, is to move them from being, young adults to being fully independent adults. And so by the time they leave here, we expect them to be able to manage that, and so we provide services to support them in that. What we also recognize is that many of our students have required in the past, particularly those with severe persistent mental health concerns, have required a lot of involvement from parents. And so it's really up to the student and that family to figure out how much information they need to share. Because our students, for the most part, are over 18, we can't share anything with a parent that student doesn't allow us to share. However, if a student goes into crisis or feels like they need the support of parents' involvement to know what's going on in order to support them to get better, we're absolutely allow that to happen. We provide options for our students where they can sign a release of information, and that can be a limited release that just lets parents know that they're still fully engaged. Or it can be a full release so that we can actually sit down with parents and talk about what the recommendations are, particularly when we're referring a student for higher levels of care and feel like they are reaching a point where the interventions that we have here on campus aren't going to be adequate to support that student.
Great. Well, thank you, Dr. Mann, for being with us today. And if you all have any questions, you're welcome to email or call our office and we can direct you where you need to go.